Hi, this is Carlita Wright again, and I wanted to take this moment and offer you some value to help you on your job search. You see, I've had the opportunity and the blessing to get a lot of really good jobs. And from the experiences, I've also had a lot of interviews. And I've learned so much just by going through interviews and not getting those jobs that I thought I would have. And through the process, it made me better. And it made me better for the job that was for me. So with that being said, I'm going to take the next several emails that I send you and just give you value to help you as you go through your career or try to find a new job or whatever you're doing on the next stage of your life. And today I want to talk about how employers think. You see, I have hired so many people on every job that I had. I was a hiring supervisor or manager. So I would go and I would interview different candidates who were applying. And not only that, but I will also interview peers that will either be managers or supervisors as myself. And there was a lot that I learned just by observing from the other side of the table. And I'm going to share that with you today. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand what you should be focusing in on, how you should begin to think like an employer. Just as if you were a student in class, you should think like a teacher and anticipate the questions that are going to be asked. That way you're better prepared for success. So today I want to talk about the targeted selection process. A lot of employers use this method. It has been taught by large companies like DDI, and is basically a way to gauge the interest and qualifications of candidates who are applying to the jobs and get the best qualified candidate for the position. So the targeted selection process looks at three things, and is looking to get information from your resume, but mostly from your conversation in the phone interview or in the one-on-one interview, that looks at key behaviors, fundamental knowledge, and personal and career motivations. So if you're thinking about how to frame your answers when you are in interviews, just keep that in mind. What are some behaviors that you have demonstrated? What knowledge can you share that you've gained? And what are the motivations that you were able to either display or leverage in every situation you were in, whether it's a personal relationship, a peer relationship, or a employee relationship. Okay? So in those three behaviors, there's some other things you should be looking at when you're going in interviews for competencies. And employers, I know I was looking at, how does this person think? How do they make decisions? Are they very logical in the decision-making process? Are they kind of scattered? Are they random? Can they be predicted? Is the flow of their answers they're giving me, is it in a method, or is it kind of hit and miss? Are they really good at answering some questions that I ask and then stumble on the other questions? That lets me know either they weren't prepared or they kind of just got a freebie, or maybe they were asked a question before in the past and kind of knew how to answer it. But if you are really prepared, then you will not be thrown off by any question, because you'll have so many tools, so many stories, so many answers in your back pocket, in your toolbox, that you'll be able to reformat every answer to fit any question. Okay? I gave you some really valuable information. You should have a lot of stories already prepared, a lot of experiences that you've already went over that you are sharing and repackaging to fit the questions they ask as best as possible. So some things that employers are looking for, they want to know how you make your decisions. Can you handle stress? Are you very organized, and can you plan? Okay? Can you follow a schedule? Can you follow a system? Can you follow instructions? They want to know how well can you adapt, because we may have a daily routine and then things change. But can you adapt to those changes, and how well can you adapt to get the results? Okay? They want to know what your work standards are. Do you have energy? Are you excited? Are you enthusiastic while you're talking to them? While you're giving stories that show that you display energy and enthusiasm? And how well are you communicating? So just a few of the things you need to be thinking about as you're writing out your stories, and put fragments and glimpses of each component in the story that you're writing out. So take about 5 or 6 questions that I'm going to help you here later, and just write out a story. Like, do like a page and a half and just explain what happened, and put in there how you made decision, and say decision. Put in there that you were stressed, and explain how you were stressed. Put in there the work standards that you displayed, and how they helped you get the job done. Okay? So I'm trying to help you understand not only the behaviors and skills you should have in an interview, but also what you should be thinking about in your responses for everything you've done up until now in your job. So the method that I'm talking about, this targeted selection method, it's called STAR. Okay? It stands for STAR. And it's basically situation, task, action, and result. So you need to make sure you take those 4 components. What was the situation or the task that you focused on? Okay? So set the tone. What is the setting? Like if you're writing a story, you may be writing a children's book. Maybe it's the 3 little bears, right? The setting takes place in the 3 bears' home, right? And a little girl was hungry. So that's situation. And the tasks are everything that you do within that story. Okay? And then the action, what action did you take? Okay? Either to fix the problem, right? Make it better, or what made it worse? What action did you take that made it worse? Okay? And then what results happened from your results? What happened because of that? Okay? So when you're explaining these situations, these STAR technology, or these STAR terminology and all that stuff, it's very important that these same stories are hinted in on your resume as well. Because you don't want to talk about things that are not on your resume. If it's something of value, make sure you put it on your resume. So the stories you use should already be structured, and it should already be embedded in your resume to kind of match and support each line. Now, if you're in an interview and you fail to give clarity on information, it's going to make it hard for the hiring manager to be able to understand, 1, if you understand your resume, 2, if you even wrote your resume, 3, if you understand the question they're asking, 4, if you're really able to explain how your skills can match their company's requirements for the job. Okay? So be careful of putting significant information on your resume, or in sharing significant information in the interview, and not giving any support or giving misleading information. What I mean by that is, let's say you were in high school or college and you were part of a team, and the team did a very good job on something. Maybe you were part of a capstone project, and you guys worked on the Saturn Ion when it was really big, and your job was to revitalize the Saturn Ion to the current customer base. Okay? Or maybe it was a Honda Accord or Honda Civic. trying to revive and get more customers and more buyers in a certain target market. All right. And through that experience, that project, all you say is that I was a part of a team that developed the major widget for the Honda Accord, and we did well. Okay? That's significant information, but it's misleading because it sounds like you did well. Okay? Yeah, your team may have done well, but to what extent did you help the team? What extent did you hinder the team? What were the effective solutions or problems you gave, or just opposite? Did the team meet its objectives? Because you may have done well, but did you meet the objectives? It's one thing to say, yeah, we were able to create a new widget for this car, but everybody in the group got a C in the class. So did you meet the objectives of that class or of that project? You may have done well in some respects of the project, but in others you may have fell short. It's important that you understand that, not only for your project, but also in the business world. Because in the business world, we have objectives. If you have an objective to reduce scrap, reduce losses by 10% for quarter 3, and you only achieve it by 7%, that's good, but the problem is you did not meet the objective, so that's a failure on the objective part. So now you have to explain whether the objective was too meaty or too high or lofty, or not so much that. Explain what were the contributing factors. The reason why we were only able to get 7% reduction in scrap is because we lost the first 3 months because we had a major problem in one of our machines. And we had every engineer from corporate down trying to figure out exactly what was the major contributors. Root cause was there was a programming error. And we lost 3 weeks trying to troubleshoot it. But once we figured it out, we were able to get 15% improvement in scrap over the next 12 weeks. But those 3 weeks alone hurt us. So those 3 weeks alone was the defining factor between us being at 12% quarter over quarter improvement versus the 7% that we got. See? You have to understand the why. You have to understand to what extent. You must be able to articulate your knowledge of the problem, the behaviors you use to fix the problem. We called engineers from corporate down to help. And what was the motivation? We were trying to get this done for the quarter objectives, and we were determined to figure it out. We brought out everybody we could to figure it out, and we did not stop until we figured it out. So even though there's a failure in not meeting objectives, the way you're able to explain and show your decision making, how you handle stress, how you plan and organize, how you were able to adapt to the problem, the work standards and work ethics you display, the amount of energy you put in to solve the problem, and the way you communicate it to the hiring manager are all important. Now, I don't expect you to get this overnight. But what I can say is you will get it if you practice. If you practice. It takes some practice. That's all. It takes practice and planning. And I promise you'll get it. You will get it. So I mentioned some negatives in that example. And it is absolutely okay to mention negatives. Don't be afraid to mention negatives. If you're only painting this glossy, perfect picture of yourself, to me, that's red flags because no one is perfect. If you are perfect, then why are you leaving the company you're leaving in the first? If everything's perfect and you're the best candidate and the best employee, why are you leaving and looking for another job? Every position, every job has its ups and downs, and there's always challenges in every job. I'm not saying dispel that, but my point is if you don't share the negatives, it makes your application look a little more weak. So the way that I explained it there kind of helps people see the humanity in you and how you handle stressful situations. So make sure that whenever you do share stressful situations or negatives, you're able to frame it up. So I said, even though we didn't meet our 7% improvement for quarter 3, we were able to get 15% over the last 12 weeks of the quarter. That exceeds the 10% metric or the goal that you were trying to achieve. I'm hoping that makes sense. If it doesn't, just rewind this video as many times as you possibly need to and absorb the thought process that I'm sharing with you. Absorb, just my point to you is make sure you write down each element and add a sentence that matches each one of those elements, and just make sure you put it in a story format. Because we are all storytellers. We are all givers of stories. Our minds process it better. So when you're in an interview, all you're doing is selling yourself through story. You're a salesperson. Whether you realize it or not, you are a salesperson. People always say, oh, I can't be a salesperson. I don't want to sell anything. But whether you realize it or not, everything you do, you sell. Whether you're trying to sell yourself to a girlfriend or boyfriend, to be a spouse, whether you sell yourself to your children or your siblings to get them to do what you want them to do, or sell yourself to a friend that you really like, whether it's a girlfriend or a boyfriend, a real good friend, you sell a person to either take on your idea or understand how you think and feel or have some kind of commonality, and you sell yourself in interviews to get jobs. So make sure you pre-frame your answers by being organized and writing them out as stories. And my homework for you is just to write down, write down every experience, good or bad, that you've had in your last jobs. And go back as far as you can. Use examples from when you were if you went to college, if you did not, into high school, if you did not, your last job, even home. You can use some home examples. If you either a work-at-home mom or if you are a high school student, you can use examples from home. Just one off my head that I could think of. Let's say, for example, you are a work-at-home mom, and you need to explain to the employer that you're qualified. Even though you haven't worked in the past 5 or 6 years, you're qualified. One thing you can say to kind of, meet that objective that they may have, or objection, is say, you know what, for the past 5 years, I have raised my 3 children, and there was a time that my 13-year-old was struggling with his homework, and he was actually flunking in freshman Spanish. So I actually took him, and we got some index cards, and we went word by word. And I had to begin to get creative and look for outside resources to help us. I was able to find the support of a college student who was majoring in Spanish, who was a senior, who needed a workday job. I worked closely with the university and had that student fulfill 3 credits by tutoring my son while we all worked on his assignment. Okay, so there's a situation, gave you a task and the action, now here comes the result. As a result, my son was able to pass his freshman Spanish class with a grade of a B. And he is so happy and excited, and now he loves Spanish. And he can't wait till he started in Spanish too. You see how that works? You tell the situation, you give all the tasks and the problems, the conflict that happened, and within the tasks, the actions you took to make it right, and the results of the action you took, whether it's good or bad. So just write out stories. It doesn't matter. It's all about how well of a storyteller you are. It doesn't matter anything else. If you're able to tell a good story and to format it in the formula that I'm alluding to in this video, you'll be fine. So go ahead and do that homework for me. Write down about 10 stories. Get some paper, get a notebook, and write about a page or two. Just write it all out. It might take you 2 or 3 hours to sit there and just think about different examples in your mind, because you may not have done it in a while. You may do it on the whim on the top of your head, but to sit there and actually be organized about it, it may be a little more challenging. But I promise you, it's going to work out for you in the end. And in the very next video, I am going to show you how to use these stories and experiences, and I'm going to help you frame it up to where it's going to be able to serve you in your interviews to help you land your next job. So I hope that helped you. I'm super excited to go over these next series of interview questions. Basically, gosh, my mind, I'm tired. Any mock interview questions. Just want to go over everything with you to make sure that you are prepared for your next job, whether you are in transition, whether you are unemployed, or whether you're looking for your next position. So it's been my pleasure. I cannot wait till next time to help you. For now, I hope you have an awesome night, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.